Welcome to D&D.
Not that D&D, but we are going to play a game.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm Eller the Disciple.
And I'm Tally the Dissenter. And I have a game to start this topic today. So, I'm going to read you some quotes, and I want you to tell me, are they from Karl Marx or are they from the Bible?
Oh, okay.
Do not rob the poor.
I'm going to say the Bible.
Okay. Whoever oppresses the poor to increase his own wealth or gives to the rich will only come to poverty.
That's a tough one. Maybe the Bible?
Okay.
Was it yes, the Bible?
I'm not telling you until
I don't get it. Oh, my
you
goodness.
just have to answer me, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
A righteous man knows the rights of the poor. A wicked man does not understand such knowledge.
Oh, I'm going to say Bible. That sounds like Proverbs.
Okay. Are the rich not the ones who oppress you and the ones who drag you into court?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely the Bible.
Okay. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender.
I'm going to say also the Bible.
Okay. Sell your possessions and give to the needy.
Oh, that's in the Bible.
But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction.
Also the Bible.
For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil.
Yes, Bible.
Keep your life free from the love of money.
I'm going to say also the Bible,
But
since we have a trend.
But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation.
That is the Bible. I know that scripture.
So the catch was that this was a thread that somebody had shared on Twitter, and they, the big reveal, if you will, was that they were all from the Bible.
Right. Yeah.
And, people were trying to guess.
Yeah.
So, I think it's pretty cool that we can have that. It's good that you seem to have read your Bible. Seems to be
7 times end to end. In different versions.
Okay, but
Just saying. Working on number 8.
definitely the people who maybe don't do it.
Yeah.
Think.
Yeah.
Sell your possessions and give to the poor.
Yeah.
Is a bad thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think that's perfect for our topic today,
Yep.
which is capitalism and co-opted religion, especially Christianity.
yeah, and I feel like there are so many ways we can see how capitalism has done it, right?
Yeah, and I think we wanted to start with maybe the prosperity gospel.
Okay.
Or maybe we didn't want to start with that.
No,
but that's what's coming to my mind.
No, I agree with you. We were going to start talking about one of the big splits from Catholicism, which was John Calvin and the Calvinists, who were a Protestant Reformation and sort of the founding of the Protestant work ethic. I made the noise I made because I find the Protestant work ethic very annoying. So, do you want to give a explanation of the Protestant work ethic?
So I don't know if I have an explanation of the work ethic. It's easier for me to go to the prosperity gospel, which is this idea that God rewards people that work hard.
Which is sort of like the Protestant work ethic.
There you go.
Well, okay.
Another book that I found that's not Brene Brown is Max Weber's The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. And basically, I have not finished this book. It is very dense. It is very difficult to read. It was written in 1920, so language
Weber
is slightly different.
You read in theory in both political science and sociology.
There you go.
So.
Now, I just found this on my own because sometimes I just do that. It's kind of interesting how serendipity puts books across my path sometimes. But anyway, what I have read, it was interesting to me because I was like, oh, really? But basically, it's kind of the intersection of this idea that people that work hard get rewarded by God. With this other idea that, capitalism perpetuates, that it's not just that you're working hard and getting your material needs met, that you can actually accumulate wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Something else in the Bible that you didn't cover is there's a little story that Jesus tells about a man and his 7 barns and all the wealth that he stored up, and how, and I might be wrong, it might not be Jesus, it might be in the Old Testament, but I really think it's in the New Testament. That was my first gut memory. But the idea was that this man was mistaken because he was going to die that night and he could take none of it with him. It is absolutely undermining this idea of accumulating wealth. It gets ignored a lot in certain Christian circles, shall we say. And some of these folks, I'm going to be sad to admit, and yet it is, and it's okay because good and bad comes together, that I've listened to quite a bit, like Joel Osteen, Joyce Meyer. There was a time I listened to Pat Robertson.
Oh my God.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. I admit it. But it was interesting because once I started getting educated, which these people are scared of education for a reason, because then you start using your critical thinking skills and you go, wait a second, this stuff does not make sense what you're saying when you actually read the flipping Bible.
Yeah.
And the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say. Sorry, that's a really old reference. Unless you're like over 80, you probably won't even know what that is. But maybe you will. Do you know who Paul Harvey is?
Absolutely no idea.
See, thank you. Okay. You were like, what? Okay. I didn't know if you were giving me that look because you did know,
No,
or because
I
you
was
really
just
didn't know.
No.
Anyway, all of that to say that when you start reading this stuff, truly reading, you go, wait a second. This part of the Bible doesn't mesh with this part of the Bible. So what's the real story here?
Mm-hmm.
They don't really like you to do that. They don't like you to ask the questions. How dare?
Well, okay. Let's go way back. Okay. So the Pilgrims, do you remember why they left England?
Why did the Pilgrims leave England? I have no idea.
I don't have the Jeopardy theme music. Well, I don't think we have the copyright for it anyway, but
they wanted to have a tea party in Boston.
That came later.
I know. I'm just kidding. I was
No,
just kidding.
It was a bunch of Puritans looking for a place where they could be free to outlaw Christmas, institute more Protestant work.
You know, I think when we were talking last time, I wanted to bring up, we should not underestimate how much the Puritans have influenced our culture in this country.
Oh, definitely.
That is definitely,
it's
definitely
so funny.
a concern.
When I hear the whole war on Christmas thing, I'm like, we have a thing that I have for our Christmas episode. I hope we talk about Christmas and Saturnalia and the fact that Christmas used to be illegal in the United States. And it was banned by the Puritans.
We should talk about that. I'm very excited because I didn't know it was illegal.
It was banned by the Puritans. So,
along with
you want to talk about a war on Christmas? It was not the damn liberals, or the Marxists, or the communists, or the socialists. We didn't do it.
Jeez.
So,
yeah,
it just is like, yeah, it is this whole thing of like our entire country. Not everybody who came over was a Protestant looking for a place where they could have their religion, without the pressure of the Church of England. But there were many people who came over because of that. And so, yes, it was sort of woven into this fabric of these things. However, I feel like I can say this, we don't have enough followers, that it should be too big of a deal. But, the founding fathers still stuck to the idea of wanting a country where religious freedom was possible. and that they saw the Constitution as a living document meant to be changed and not meant to be ruling us
yes.
hundreds of years later.
Yes. Wow, that's a whole nother episode right there.
Rewrite it. Okay.
But I do think that this is ironic, just thinking about Christmas alone and how capitalism and
Christmas have married.
they are married, and they are gonna have tons of children for years to come.
Oh, they already had a baby. It was called Black Friday, and I don't like it.
And Cyber Monday, and oh my god, and now we do it in the middle of the summer. I don't know if you guys have had that yet. Well, I mean, like literally, I've been seeing ads on TV. I guess I am old school. I watch TV on the DVR and fast forward through
like
the commercials.
In July
but there you go. But it's Christmas in July, and they're not just one. Like there was somebody that was doing Black Friday in July, and I'm like, yeah, this is a new thing.
This is definitely about consumerism.
But it is. It's totally about consumerism. And I remember, and it wasn't Reagan, it was Bush, one of the Bushes, I don't remember which one, when the economy was going sour. So it might have been the first one, because he only got one term. When the economy was going sour, he was like, well, everybody should be a good Christian or a good citizen. Thank you, not Christian, but very close, same word. And go shopping for Christmas. That was his thing. As everybody should go shopping for Christmas. And I'm like, I really love my tradition, my faith tradition now. What Christmas even means for me has nothing to do with shopping. Just saying. Just saying.
Well, we don't have to get into Christmas.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, maybe around Christmas.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a while off.
Is it though? It's gonna be here before you know it.
I know, especially because they're just so quick to push things into the stores, right?
Oh yeah, because like the day after Halloween, we'll have all the Christmas stuff out. Like, it's just
you can't wait for the Halloween stuff to be in the store.
It's already in my closet, and I was like, I love it.
What? It is? Oh, I didn't know that.
What can I say? My soul is spooky. And I'm like, if they get to start Christmas like as soon as October is over, what? Beginning of August can be.
Well, Halloween. There you go. Somebody agrees with you, obviously.
Well, I haven't bought anything.
Back to school's not quite finished yet. So
I just enjoy the whole aesthetic of it. So I like seeing all that stuff. I'm like, we got black cats and we got black bats and we got. Yeah, I don't know if this is a new thing. This cat has been.
I know, and he's
the
really
first time
comfortable
we left
there.
him here. The first time we tried to like let him in the room, he was like climbing on stuff and meowing.
I know, and this time at last couple of times he's just been like, "Let me lay down and take a nap."
Yeah, it's great. I love it. He's so cute. But yes, this is my little spooky baby. I mean, I just look at somebody like Joe Osteen, who has this gigantic church, and a few years ago, people were calling him out online for not like opening their doors to
people during hurricane.
Yeah, during the hurricane, because they were there. I remember. They had the space.
I think that when that happened was probably when I went, oh, I need to wake up. And some of it I don't think is harmful to like be like, okay, you don't always have to get your way kind of thing. That idea of like, if you're upset with somebody, you don't have to get your way. You just kind of keep going and move on with your life.
Wait, what? Where is this?
That's part of some of the things he preaches is what I'm saying. But the idea that, the flip side of that is if you keep going on your way, that God will bless you.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, it depends. What do you expect the blessing to look like? Because that's not completely wrong. Like sometimes you just have a blessing of like harmony in your own self, that you're not living frustrated and mad all the time. But that doesn't mean I'm going to get rich because I didn't I didn't flip somebody off for cutting me off in traffic or something. It's kind of this weird, like,
yeah, no, I agree.
Thinking, I think.
I don't know if you can really pinpoint if it was like Jerry Falwell and Pat Robinson that like really kind of brought that
It's
into, like,
Robertson, just for the record, because
I don't care. He's dead. Ha.
Yes.
I mean, what? Who said that?
I can't believe you said that. Ugh.
What? He's dead. He don't care.
He don't care. It's true. It is so true.
But, like, I don't know if they kind of ushered in, like, the more modern interpretation where it's not necessarily, they're not necessarily saying, oh, follow us and you'll be rich. They're not doing that kind of, like, scheme. But
I don't know.
But they are very much
subtly
like,
that.
Yes, it's like a reformulating of the Calvinism view of, like, oh, well, like you said, God will bless you if you do everything right, and if you tithe 10% to me, and the more you give, the more you get back. And it's kind of interesting because I have heard some of these people use a threefold law, which is, like, a thing in, like, a lot of different, like, I'm going to say the term Wiccan, but I kind of have issue with that term. Traditions of anything you do comes back to you threefold, reminding yourself to act in a way that if something were to come back to you like that you would be okay with it. You're not going to send something out into the world to harm. But they have kind of used this language, like, if you tithe to me, maybe you get 3 times back what you want. I've heard stuff like that before. It is bizarre, and it is certainly not in alliance with what the Bible says. I mean, just pictures of, like, Joe Osteen's mansion, Joel Osteen.
Yeah. Apparently
I'm not getting these names right.
Yeah, well, it's okay.
They don't deserve it. No.
Oh, well, there's that.
His huge house, and it's like, it's that whole idea of, like, there's so many ways that they try to justify, even though literally it says easier for a camel to pass through an eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to go into heaven. I have heard the most wild stories of, like, how they justify it. Of they were trying to, there was, like, this gate that was called the Eye of the Needle or something that he was referencing. Okay, source needed.
You're missing the point of the story.
Yes, like, the whole justification of this. Like, no, I still get to be rich.
See, and that's the thing that we really, that it is a problem. It is a problem. It becomes like an excuse to not help other people because, like, oh, well, I'm good, so I deserve this. So I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna help this person because
even though
they don't deserve it. And it's like, wait a second.
There's literally, like Jesus said in the Bible, give up everything you own and come and follow me.
There was an example in Acts 2 where people lived in community and they shared everything. I don't know if that qualifies as socialism or if it qualifies as Marxism. But
it wouldn't be called Marxism just because it would be...
Well, because when it happened, he wasn't alive, right?
No, but it would be more like communism. I mean,
communism, that was,
the whole, like, communism,
living in common.
The commune. And the commune. There's such an intentional misrepresentation of communism being seen as, like, an authoritarian thing.
Right. Right. Which it's not really what communism is.
Well, no, because communism is not a political system. Communism is an economic system. Just like capitalism is not a political system, it is an economic system. We have a republic democracy as our
which is to be debated. Another episode.
Well, okay, let's be real. The capitalists have done what they can to influence this democracy as much as
money
possible,
has spoken,
and make it as undemocratic as possible. So,
right. The thing is with that whole passage in Acts 2, if you talk to somebody who's a fundamentalist Christian, they say, "Oh, that doesn't work now." And the reason it doesn't work is because we start measuring whether people deserve it or whether it's fair based on equality rather than equity. The difference
I want to know where you're going with this, because I'm like,
difference being equity is giving people what they need and meeting them where they are, and equality is everything's the same for everybody regardless of their capabilities. And we've talked about this a little bit.
Well, and this is the idea that our system even has that, and it does not.
Right.
And they like to pretend it does.
Right.
So
the other thing that is part of why we don't think we can do this, is we do not know how to hold people accountable for when they are taking advantage. We just get mad and take home our cookies. And that's been part of why we were...
get your ball and you go home kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I probably didn't use a very good metaphor there.
I want cookies now.
Yeah. And you don't get any, because I'm going home and getting my own. Part of what we are trying to do is create a space where people have the conversation that are difficult conversations, and holding people accountable is not an easy thing to do.
No, what happens is somebody goes, hey, this person said this really terrible thing or did this really terrible thing. And somebody goes, oh my God, I'm being canceled. And it's like, no, how are we supposed to hold anyone accountable if the second we bring up anything?
Yes, we do have that response going on. But I think it begins in just being able to
hold each other accountable
and say, you're doing this thing and it's impacting me in this way, and I love you and I care about you, but can we figure out a solution?
If somebody said, for example, well, somebody should just like pull themselves up by their bootstraps, and you're like,
but if they don't have boots,
it's like you're not going to go, oh, you're harming me in this way. It's going to be, I think this is a misconception, because the original phrase was about how you cannot pull yourself over a fence by your bootstraps. And because it's impossible. Yes. It's about an impossible thing. And we've done the same thing with the blood is thicker than water. We're only using that one part and changing the entire meaning of the original phrase, which is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Essentially, the relationships that you choose are stronger than the family that you're born into. And I mean, I know that it's generally said in like a religious point of view, like the covenant being, but it's the same thing with the pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah.
It was meant to show something that was impossible, and we use it as like, well, just do it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like we're not using it at all how it was originally meant. I just think it's really interesting how we have made these things just fit our own narratives, and I feel like that is something.
Well, I'm not sure we have done that. No, I think the powers that be.
But somebody behind the powers that be is a person somewhere who has decided to continue this. It's like there is a person somewhere that has made a change in the way they've used a phrase, and that one thing rippled out into a million other things.
Yeah, the ripple effect, because that's it. Like, I was thinking about, there's an old movie called Gentleman's Agreement. It's about anti-Semitism and how that gets perpetuated through an unspoken ripple effect that you're like talking about. And speaking these things is one way we can hold people accountable and maybe start changing the tides.
Yeah, and I hope to goodness we can, because I feel like it needs to be said when it comes to people like these mega pastors that are like hoarding wealth, and I would really like to see what they are doing to help people in their community.
Yeah.
I don't see that. You can't tell me that Joel Osteen can have that giant mansion and can't manage to make a few like affordable houses, or like
more than a few.
Yeah. Or like a homeless shelter or something. Like, I would like to see a lot more of that outreach. I don't necessarily believe that is the duty of the church, but
see, I think that's interesting, because for me, that was part of my shift of waking up to, it's great if you go to church and people are, learning the Bible and treating each other nice, and then they have all this dogma that's like does nothing for the poor. They like, I'm just here to make myself better, and I like to be nice to nice people. This isn't really built around justice. It's built around, I don't know, maybe this idea that came from Calvinism, or the marrying of these two things, or the intersection of these two things of like, I can just accumulate for me and it's okay because I'm a good person.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I got to a point where it didn't make sense anymore. And I started caring about growing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd read the Bible enough times that I was seeing disconnects and things that weren't getting preached about that should be. And so I started looking at different churches, and I started finding churches that cared about justice issues, about helping the homeless and the people struggling in poverty, and even getting involved politically to, vote for things that helped people in the public arena. And that was a big shift. That was a really big shift. It was eye-opening. It was
talked about
eye-opening.
the evolution of the church in the past, and like, I feel like in some ways that's some of it. I think I go much, much further, where I truly believe that if we stand firm on the belief that we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that anything that bars you from that, whether it's clothing, food, shelter, is a human right, and that those things should not be for profit. It would cause a huge uproar to make the structural changes needed for that to happen. I start for me by, I wrote one of my representatives recently, and the response was that she would like to talk to me about some of the things that I had written about and about my work with unhoused individuals, and I invited her to our office hours, and I have heard nothing. So I think that speaks pretty loudly. Your silence is deafening.
Yeah.
And it is, at the end of the day, the apathy of people who see themselves as good people. I think we'll talk a little bit about that, because I think we're going to do an episode on the letter from the Birmingham jail.
Say that there are definitely people that are out there trying, but they limit themselves in their trying because they don't want to maybe push an envelope or cross a line, or they feel that there's only a certain context in which they can do certain work. They don't really open up the possibility of thinking outside that box and saying, wait, we really need to push for this more now.
Mm-hmm.
And that part is disheartening, because you look at it and you go, well, there's only so much I can do. There's only so much other people are willing to do. And none of that is satisfactory to really making a huge improvement. And I was thinking about, I think it was the first Good Omens, maybe. I can't remember for sure. The guy that breaks the first, where the guy breaks the computers, was that in the first Good Omens?
That was in the first season, yeah.
Yeah, the first season, sorry. Anyway, so I was thinking about the first season of Good Omens and the guy that was breaking the computers, and I thought, this guy, for all of his life, he's thought he's just worthless. He kept getting fired from jobs, and he wanted to do something worthwhile and contribute, but he didn't have anything. And then he gets this opportunity to actually help save the world. And he does it. He takes it. Who knows what is in your purview to actually make a difference? And I don't want you to underestimate what you can contribute, because you might be like that guy.
There are many, many things that I feel like we could get into the weeds about criticizing with capitalism, and the way that religion and capitalism have made bad bedfellows and kind of gotten us into this really terrible place. This is the society we live in now, so I want to encourage people not to feel shame for making money however they make money.
Right.
As long as we need it just to survive, just to maintain basic rights, then make your money. Don't feel guilty about it. Do what you can to survive this. We are all here, and it's not fun, but we want we want to survive. We want you to survive. And we hope that we are able to make changes that will maybe last. I mean, the way the ice is melting, I don't know how much longer we're all going to be here.
I know.
And capitalism will not solve its and it's, it's our Lord who said master's tools will not dismantle the master's house. And I do fully believe that when it comes to capitalism, we can't necessarily just work inside the system for that. It is going to require a lot more. I think there are ways that we can make the world more survivable for each other and be kind to each other and help each other wherever we can. And not be the person who can afford to have a giant house and refuse to build.
So I'll tell a story. When we went to buy this house and sell my other house, I was very clear with my realtor that I wanted to sell the house to a first-time buyer rather than an investor, because I knew an investor was going to make it a rental property. And I was very upfront about that. That ended up being quite difficult.
Yes.
Because I had an investor that was offering this great price. And of course, the realtor wanted me to take the great price. And I'm like, I told you I didn't want to do that. Why are you even bringing me this offer?
Well, and it had a little bit of an impact on us because our realtor was working with another realtor to help us look at houses, and the other realtor was not happy we didn't take that money.
Right. And then that realtor refused to show us houses, and our other realtor was out of town. So we all of a sudden couldn't look at houses anymore because we didn't take this offer from the investor. We ended up having a conversation and that turned around. But oh my gosh, how difficult it was. And it was so wired into the conversation that it was like, when I had even been very upfront, it was not even paid attention to.
You were able to sell it to somebody who was a first-time home buyer and who has really, we've gotten to see a few of the things that have happened in the house since we left. And it seems like the family that has it now cares and has put their own
stamp on it.
And their own labor and love in there and have gotten to do some great things. So I think it's great. I think it worked out.
This person probably wouldn't have a house.
Maybe. I mean, it was
otherwise they were having a hard time.
Terrible. So.
Yeah, we live in a difficult market, and so they were having a hard time. That killed me because my realtor is also a Christian, and I'm going, you understand this is basically coming because of my faith that I want to do this for somebody. And all they could see was the dollar signs. That was heartbreaking. And it did all work out, but that's a perfect example that comes to mind in our recent experience. I mean, that was just in the last few years that we had that happen.
I have previously had to rely on food banks and things like that in the past for food, and I will admit that there's been times I've gone to some food banks at churches and felt extremely judged, felt very treated with skepticism, like I was lying to try and get food, which is the weirdest thing, right? And I don't know how to explain that other than it just is a feeling that you get, a vibe. That stuff is okay, so you have people who are doing the charity,
but they don't do it with a charitable heart.
Yeah, but they see everyone with an air of skepticism, and I mean, I get it. It's hard because I don't know. I work with unhoused people at the moment, and you see repeated patterns of behavior and stuff, and you hope that they're able to get the help they need, but at the same time, at least they're finding ways to have harm reduction, or they're making slow changes to get things back on track. Even that, every program and things that we offer, it's you have to jump through certain hoops to get into them. And not that the place that I offer, I just mean in general, there's so many things. You have to do certain things, and it can be hard because it's like there's not always resources for the help that people need, and it's always the goal is always you have to come and contribute to our capitalist society. And if we can't find a way to make you contribute to our capitalist society, that you don't deserve to have a house.
Right.
It's just rough.
And you don't even deserve to live on the streets of the city because
like,
they're going to run you off.
Mm.
Yeah. It is really a sign of who we are as a people that we don't have more empathy for those folks.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just tell a quick story before we wrap up. So I had a friend tell me this story several years ago. He had worked years for a corporation and was ready to retire, semi-retire. He went to work for a nonprofit in his semi-retirement. First day he was driving downtown to go to work, and as he was at a light, there was a homeless or unsheltered person pushing a cart across the road. And he thought, I wish this guy would hurry up. The lights turned green and I'd like to go. After a few months of working at the nonprofit, he saw the guy again one morning going to work. And he thought, I wonder where he's sleeping tonight.
You know,
that is the kind of change that we can make as a society.
I hope to see that. I'm not working for a nonprofit exactly, but I am working with unhoused people, and one of the things that can be frustrating as somebody who does, like, the reality is that I can't afford to buy a house. I just don't get paid enough. And it's very limiting if you want to work in any of those realms where you are feeling like, I want to make a difference. I want to work with these populations that are down, but that's not where the money is. Just surviving can be difficult. I would love to think I could have a house someday, but probably not.
Yeah. We've talked about a lot today.
This got pretty heavy and kind of like definitely off topic, but
but it's still capitalism, and that's the thing is the capitalism. For me, I look at it as, how is my faith doing justice in this capitalistic society? If it's been co-opted to believe that, just be nice to the nice people and follow all the puritanical rules.
And maybe sometimes, every once in a while, go and find the lima beans that you haven't eaten in 2 years.
And donate those to the food bank,
The people eat the food bank don't want your lima beans either.
No, why did you buy lima beans? Very few people like those. That's a very specific food. Just saying.
I had to bring some sort of joke in here because we were so heavy. I was like, I need to break this tension.
Yeah, we should have had a trigger warning on this episode.
I guess so. Maybe I'll have something at the beginning. I don't know.
But I hope whatever you're facing this week,
if it's just capitalism and having to get out of bed and deal with that, sorry.
Go to work or do your job.
Or figure out how you're going to pay your bills or where you're going to sleep or where your next
do the impossible bootstrap thing.
Yeah.
I hope you have the support, the love, and the friendship you need. And each day.
Yeah.
To make it through.
Thank you for sitting with us through this more serious conversation, and, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And we appreciate it. Tell us your thoughts below. Anything we didn't cover? Again,
let us know.
We'd love to know. So, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.